Hello everyone, my name is Pauline and today I wanted to try my hand on joining booktube and start making videos for this channel. So if you are interested in seeing someone new to the game, then keep watching. So I've watched a couple of these booktube newbie tags and I can't seem to find the original video to tag the original maker. So hopefully, if you guys know of that, please leave it in the comments so I can correctly give credit where credit is due. But the questions seem to be pretty much identical throughout, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. The first question is, number one, why did you start the channel? And I have them written down, which is why I'm looking this way. But obviously, the first thing that makes me want to do this is my love for reading. I am an avid reader, and I can talk to some friends about reading and some family about reading, but it's not always the same. Sometimes we are wanting to read different things. Some of my friends read entirely different genres than I do, so it's very rare if our tastes converge, which is fine. We still share our opinions of our respective books, but I want to be able to kind of have a little community that I can just blab about whatever book I want to, and hopefully if you guys are also interested in those books, then we can have that conversation, because I'm sure every book reader and book lover knows, like, once we find someone who loves the same book that we do, or even hates the same book, hate is a strong word, but dislikes the same book that we dislike that happens to be very popular, it's just so much fun to have that back and forth. So yeah. Number two, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to the table? So obviously, everybody who is a reader is going to have their own opinions, are going to have their own tastes. I don't think that my tastes will be 100% aligned with anybody else's. So in that way, it's going to be unique. Obviously, we're all here to kind of share opinions on stories. So in that way, it's unique, but in that way, it's also the same, right? I am going to be another voice of opinions of, books. So I don't know. I personally like hearing multiple people talk about, a book that I either am really interested in or have read and really, don't agree with a popular opinion on. So I think it's nice to just, be another voice of opinions. And if your tastes are quite similar to mine, then, maybe you would, how do I put this? Like, you would weigh my opinions a little bit more heavily because we're aligned. So yeah. Number three is, what are you most excited for about this new channel? So obviously, I kind of hinted at it earlier. I am really excited to find a little community of mine to kind of talk to about, all the books that I'm reading, whether I love them, whether I dislike them, and why, and just be able to have a discussion with people who share the same interests that I do. I think that's going to be really fun. Number four is, why do you love reading? So I love to read. I've always loved to read. It is a way of, I guess, escapism for me, to kind of immerse myself in an entirely different life than the one that I'm currently leading. I just love being able to consume all these different stories that are honestly not my own. And honestly, I'm really interested in seeing how authors kind of use their imaginary worlds. Ooh, that's one of my cats. I'm pretty sure it's the one that's a little bit more naughty. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, I like how authors use their imagination to create these worlds to really reflect social commentary as well, right? Like, I don't think an author can completely remove themselves from their stories, like whether it's in their values or their beliefs, and I think that those are a reflection on real life things, whether it's society, whether it's whatever it may be. And we're able to use these stories to kind of be really good metaphors to real life, whether it's to teach us, certain values, to be more open-minded, or, just you can apply certain things in a very fantastical world to real life. And I think there's beauty in that. And I think, seeing the author's own mind kind of reflected in their work is also, it's also beautiful. So I love reading those. Number 5 is, what book or series got you into reading? So I don't remember which book or series got me into reading as a child, because I was a child. But I'm gonna be really cliche, but it is the truth, is that I got back into reading as an adult because of ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm sure anybody who reads any sort of fantasy are, aware of this series. It's super famous, super popular. I have a very complicated relationship with that series, but I will always credit it for getting me back into reading, for reminding me why I love to read. So that is the series that got me back. Number 6, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? It depends. So I watch different booktubers for different reasons. So there are certain booktubers that I feel like their tastes in stories really align with mine. So for example, Carrie Can Reads, Carrie from Carrie Can Reads, I feel like most of the books that she loves, when I've tried them, I love them too. So, with her, I think I'd go a little bit more into, the kinds of books that she reads or plans to read, but also like asking her about life in Korea, right? Because she is an American who's living abroad, making a life there. It'll just be really interesting to hear what her life is like. Other booktubers who I may not necessarily have the same tastes in books in, but I just love their personality, and I love, watching them because I think that they're funny, and I am interested in hearing what they have to say about the books that they read, right? Kind of like my friend who has a vastly different taste than I do. We still share our opinions of what we read, and that would be people like Katie Colson. I find her really hilarious, and I love watching her. So, with her, I just ask her more about, anything. I just think she'd be funny. I think that she'd just make me laugh, and I'd just have a good time. And then there are booktubers who I find really brilliant, and whether or not I'm reading the same book they are, I love watching their commentary and their critiques on books, and that would be people like Read with Rachel. I love watching all of her videos. I don't watch her videos if I think that I'm going to read the book that she's commenting on, because I don't want my opinions of the book to be swayed by her opinion, but I would always read it afterwards, and it really, it's almost like listening to her in almost like a podcast way, and I love hearing her thoughts, and she really does deep dives, and I don't know, I really appreciate that. So for her, I would probably ask her about like her growing up, because she's had such a difficult life growing up, so yeah, different questions for different booktubers that I listen to and watch all the time. Number 7 is, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? For me, definitely it would be balancing it with my my work life, my social life. I do have a pretty demanding full-time job, so balancing that while finding time to film and edit and obviously interact with everybody who wants to join this community would be the hardest, but it's also something that I'm determined to figure out. So time and consistency. Number 8, when did you start reading? I started reading as a child. I don't remember the first books that I read, probably, I don't know, something simpler than, is it called Rainbow Fish or something like that? But I've always loved fantasy. You know, some of my favorite books when I was in elementary school were like the Inkheart trilogy, The Thief Lord, Charlotte's Web. I read Lord of the Rings in junior high. I read the first book of Aragon, and I just recently reread that book, and I'm actually reading the entire series now, so it's amazing how much I've forgotten, but I did remember I loved that book, and I still love it now. So yeah, I've read since I was a child, and I used to get in trouble. Like, I would just stand in the shower with the curtain half open so I could continue reading, and my mom would be like, "You've been in there for an hour," and she'd come in and find me not showering, but wasting water. Or I would have that snake-looking clip-on light bulb and try to read under my covers, and obviously I get caught. So yeah, always has been an avid reader and used to get in trouble for reading. Number 9 is, where do you read? 95% of the time I read at home, you know, on my couch, in my bed, while washing dishes. I have like a Kindle remote, you know. Also during commutes, I will bring my Kindle if the commute is going to be about half an hour or more. I do want to maybe try reading like in a park or in a cafe one day, but I haven't done that yet. And last question is number 10, what kind of books do you like to read? I am an avid fantasy reader, if you haven't got that already from my previous answers. I do also like some romantasy, which is like a subcategory of fantasy, and there would be like random weeks where I just want to read fluff and romance, and I do that too. But my primary love is fantasy. I love plot, I love world building, I love character development. Whether or not it has romance is not necessarily important. So like my tastes in fantasy are a little bit more, I guess, in between like the traditional fantasy and romantasy. Like, I read both. So if you're interested in both and not just like all epic fantasy and all romantasy, then you know, maybe I'd be somebody that you'd like to watch. Yeah, that is all 10 questions, and that's all I have to say. If you guys are interested in following my journey here, then I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!